Hello and welcome to my basic mercenary guide for 3 hopes. So this is going to go over the mercenary's attacks, some of the abilities it unlocks, as well as some general tactics for the mercenary. One thing to note about mercenary is that it shares a lot of mechanics with Myrmidon. It has extremely similar attacks to Myrmidon, if not the exact same attacks, and it's kind of like an advanced Myrmidon. So if you understand how Myrmidon functions, mercenary is very similar to that. Alright, so it's a very decent and balanced class. It generally doesn't have very many weaknesses. It would just be lance users, and you can mitigate that with a battalion so that it basically has very few, if any, weaknesses. There are some other things that I'm not aware of that are probably later on in the game. I don't think this game has like Sword Reaver and stuff like that, so we'll find out later, but I think they kind of removed those from the game. I could be wrong, but as far as I know, there aren't things like that. So swords are strong against axes, it's part of the weapon triangle, very basic thing. So the class action is very similar to Myrmidon. You have this X, like your X attack is like a sweep, and then if you hold it in, you can charge it, but this time there's now 2 charges. So there's kind of like 3 tiers of attack. So here's like tier 0. It's just like a very basic short range sweep that does decent damage. And then tier 2 is when the first circle is charged. A little bit more range, a little bit more damage, a little bit more force. And then that's tier 1. Then tier 2 is both circles filled. So this has more range. It also flings out an extra attack. So I'll show you that. So you can kind of see it flying off there. Here, let me like unselect him so you can clearly see it, because as he's running around it might like change the camera. There it is. You also get a damage boost for around like 15 to 20 seconds. I kind of counted just by like counting. I didn't like do a timer. I just kind of like approximated a second. So it's around like 15 to 20 seconds, but you see this like red and like kind of whitish effect that just disappeared. That is the damage boost, so check it out. You get that from the tier 2. So you get a small damage boost for around 15 to 20 seconds. So those are some of the basic things. Okay, so if you press and hold X during a strong attack, you'll actually do the tier 1, which is this first circle charged, instantly. And this can be pretty good for just compressing damage, just getting some burst damage off, for breaking enemy armor, just for CCing, like crowd controlling, pushing things away from you. I'll show that in a second, but first let's go over the basic attacks. So your basic Y attack, just a slash, horizontal slash. Your second Y attack, I'm just getting fucked up by the soldier, is just another horizontal slash. Both of these do kind of low damage. And then your third Y attack is this downward slash for a little bit more damage. I would say it's like medium-ish damage at this point. And then your fourth Y attack is another horizontal slash. Your fifth Y attack is a stab. It's like a thrust. It comes up pretty quick. And then your sixth Y attack is an up slash that like launches. So those are the 6 attacks, the 6 basic attacks. For this chain, like for this class, I don't think it's really the best thing to just spam normal attacks. I'm going to go over why in a second. There might be opportunities where you can spam them, but I think the heavy attacks are where this class really shines. Okay, so we went over the X hold. So let's start with the basic X attack. It's just this. So it's the same, it's the class action. There is no normal X attack. It's just the tier 0 of your class action. Okay, and then you have your YX launcher. So this is like one of the best attacks in my opinion, because you can immediately follow it up, the class action like that, and combo things. So like the most basic thing is to like dodge something, YXX. Get some pretty good damage off while dodging. Like you just dodge off to the side. As you can see there. Extremely useful. If you do it right too, you can also get crits, just by dodging at the right time. That was a little bit too early. And you generally want to dodge behind them and not move in front of them, like I just did there. Alright, so there's your basic YX, and then your YYX does like this 2 slash combo. And just like with any attack that ends in a heavy, on Myrmidon and Mercenary, you can do a follow-up, so let's show that. So you hit X at the end of the attack, and you'll immediately get out your tier 1 X attack for your class action. And then your YYY chain into X is like a meteor. You're going to follow that up with a nice class action as well. And then to finish up with the X attacks, you have this like triple slash, and that can also be followed up. And the third hit of the triple slash tends to knock enemies away. Alright, and then just like with all the heavy attacks, you can follow it up with a class action. And it happens really quick, so. Alright, so those are the basic moves. So now let's talk about like tactics with the class actions. So if you, like, sometimes launchers work and sometimes they don't, right? Like against actual enemies. So when an enemy actually gets launched, sometimes a class action won't hit them because they'll get launched too far away. Or for example, if you do like one of these, I was able to hit him, like I didn't launch him too far. But sometimes the third hit from this attack can knock things back too far. If it does, what you can do is you can actually just charge the attack. So you can just hold X and continue to charge and then follow up and then hit. And that's true of all of the class action activations. So if you do like Y, X, X, you can charge it and then run around and then come back in. So you don't have to commit to the attack right away. And this can be really useful for just repositioning, for dodging. So you can do like a Y, X, reposition, come back in, charge it, move over to another enemy, hit them with it to open up with some damage. So pretty good, pretty like simple kit. Pretty easy to understand, I think. I think YX is like your main combo. It's not really a combo, but in this way it is. Like, yeah, like you do like your YX and then wait for the end of the attack, then hit X again. Okay. Alright, so that's the basics of the attacks and how the class action interacts with heavy attacks, as well as some interesting things about the heavy attack. Now, obviously, if something's attacking you, you probably just want to hit it and then dodge anyways. Like, if you're going to get hit anyways. You can always cancel the chain. That's an option, too. It's usually best to wait for the enemy to commit and then dodge behind them. I find that works really well. Okay, so let's go over class tactics. So I would say this is a pretty fast attacking class in that it's like attack speed and general mobility are decent. It's not as mobile as like a Cav or a Pegasus Knight, but it's kind of up there. It's like decently fast. Like your attack speed is reasonably quick. And you can do stuff like that where you like build up and then just like slam down on a dude. So for example, if you want to be like really safe, one of the basic tactics is just kind of build up your YYYX and then slam down on the enemy you want to hit. So you kind of build up at a safe distance, then slam down towards the enemy you want to hit, and then get another class action. So you can actually get pretty good burst damage doing this. Alright. Okay. Let's see. Let me just read over my notes here. Charge attack activates faster. Delay the charge attack by continuing to charge. Alright, so I did go over that already. Oh yeah, so the damage boost. Let's talk about the damage boost. So let's actually just hit this enemy with just the... Alright, we hit a 393. Now let's get the damage boost. I'm not going to hit him with it because I don't want to hurt him. At least not yet.
Well, who's next?
Jesus Christ. Does it really boost it that much? I didn't test the numbers of the damage boost? Does it really boost it by that much more? Hold up. Let me try. Alright, let me try hitting this guy, just basic. Smack him. Alright, 463. Jesus. These are low level enemies though. Alright, so it seems that the boost seems to be pretty significant. It's kind of hard to tell, but it looks like it's like 20 to 30% or something. But it's significant enough that you should probably open fights with this. So like the easiest thing to do would just be like Y, X, charge it. You just have to hit anything. You don't have to specifically hit like a durable or crazy enemy, like an actual enemy unit. You can just hit like some of the fodder that are just kind of like roaming around. You can even just run up, just kind of do this, just to get the damage boost, and then start doing chains. The damage boost is substantial enough that I would recommend maintaining it. So just use it every 10 to 15 seconds. Just do like a super attack or like a fully charged. So you can just do like one of these. And then that'll maintain it. Like the damage increase is good enough that it's worth doing that for sure. And you can tell when you have the damage increase because there's this little like aura effect that's kind of whitish red, almost pink flames. And then when it's gone, you know you don't have it anymore. Pretty useful to use. Yeah, that hit like this. The tier, like the fully charged first circle does enough damage that it's pretty substantial. Now these are low level enemies, so I'm killing them in a few hits. This is on hard mode. I haven't unlocked the other difficulty yet because I need to beat the game still. But it'll still deal pretty substantial damage to things in normal play. So fastest combos in terms of execution would just be YX, delay X, and then YYX, at the end X. Those are like your fastest combos, so that you can kind of get in and out to kind of like bob and weave. Now you can do like guard combos and stuff like that where you like go for guard counters. I tend to be more like dodge oriented. I like to dodge more. But if you want to go for those like perfect guards, that's totally legit. Okay. Okay, so I already mentioned building up weak attacks on enemies, then using your heavy attacks. I would say the best attack to do this for like the least amount of commitment is your YYYX into X, because then you just get two big heavy attacks. So your exposure to like the actual threat is like mitigated by the fact that you build it up away from the threat. And then you can like leap at it. Okay, so let's talk about the class abilities really quick. So luckily for me, there aren't a ton of them, and there's not much variation like some of the classes have. Alright, so most of the class abilities you will see for Mercenary are Battalion Vantage or Vantage, Sword Prowess, that seems to be the tier 2 for all of these units. Sword Prowess is tier 2. Wind Sweep or Fire Sweep, and then either Mercenary's Ploy or Mercenary's Wisdom. So Vantage and Battalion Vantage in this game, the trigger condition is the same. So Vantage is at 50% or below. And then Perfect Guard restores a small amount of Warrior and Awakening gauges. So this is pretty useful for obvious reasons. Building up both of those gauges is quite insane. Those are like arguably the strongest things in the game for just like spamming down bosses. So if you just want to get good at like perfect guarding enemies, and then probably just doing like YX, delay X combos and things like that, like quick combos, punishing guard and getting like, you know, spike your gauge building, this would be the class for you. But you also have to consider you have to be at or below 50%, which isn't the most fun thing to be because you have to consider that means you've lost half of your health. Now, if you're switching to another unit and you're not running that unit, someone said in the comments, I haven't tested this, I don't know if this is true or not, that it doesn't count against your S rank for health lost if like it's not player controlled. I don't know if that's true or not. It might be. So you could just switch to a character that has Vantage if their health is already at 50%. What I like to do when I play the game, like I usually run like Mercedes and she has this free heal, so I'll just always keep everyone above 50. Because if there's like huge threats, like huge bosses, this could be a liability. Like if you get hit by the right thing, you could die pretty quickly at 50% or below. And I would imagine on the harder difficulty, it could be kind of not the best thing to bank on, but high risk, high reward, I guess. Maybe like high risk, medium reward. Wind Sweep, so this is just the Wind Sweep and Fire Sweep. These are just like elemental sword attacks. Nothing crazy there. Sword prowess, increase the damage dealt by sword. Pretty simple. And then for Mercenary's ploy, increases crit rate of Mercenary, Swordmaster, and Mortal Savant. So from what I understand, if you change classes, so for example, you can see here it's like Mercenary. So Mercenary goes into Swordmaster, right? So the branch, you inherit all of these, right? So like if you're a Swordmaster, you also get all of these. So I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Definitely correct me if I'm wrong, but like based on my understanding of the game, that's how it works. Because why else would it say that? Why else would it say, like, you can equip this, right? Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I think these are equipable, right? Hold up. Let's go to someone who's actually out. Yeah. These are just equipable. Okay, yeah, so you just equip them. All right, that makes more sense. You don't inherit them. That's my bad. I'm still getting used to this game system because there's like all these different things. There's like all these menus. It's quite a bit. Okay. So Mercenary's Wisdom is the other thing. So let's find someone with that. There we go. So increases damage dealt by Mercenary, Swordmaster, and Mortal Savant based on your speed. So the higher your speed, the more damage you deal just in general. So obviously if you're a unit that's very high in speed, and you're a Mercenary, you know, Swordmaster, Mortal Savants, that's just like pure upside, right? Like more damage, that's good. You can't go wrong with that. That's just like pure upside. So of all of the abilities, obviously sword prowess, if you're going to be using swords, you want that. Mercenary's ploy, that's decent, and so is wisdom. I would say because they both, like, even if you just increase crit rate by like 5 or 10% or whatever the amount is, your average damage will increase as well. So having crit rate increase will increase your damage. It's just a different form of damage. So instead of, you dealing average 10% more damage, sometimes you'll deal like 50% more damage, but then that averages out to maybe like a 5 or 10% damage increase. So they're extremely similar abilities. I would rather have consistency. I would rather have like the damage value just set, just increased right out of the gate with Mercenary's Wisdom. So I'd prefer that if I were actually playing as the character using it. I tend to shy away from crits and focus more on like consistency wherever I can get it. But aside from that, those are pretty much the class abilities for Mercenary. It's definitely not as like flashy or sexy as some of the other classes in this tier, but it's decent, it's serviceable, it's good. It just has solid damage, it doesn't have many counters. There's really no downside to running it unless there's like a ton of enemies with spears, which can happen. But even if there are, you still have things like Grounder. So even if there's like Pegasus Knights, which, they have a spear, so that counters you, you can counter them with Grounder, and it does substantial damage. And I was able to fuck up Grounders. Like, I was playing a Swordmaster for a little bit, and I was just like destroying Pegasus Knights with Grounder. So you still have some tools to deal with that. You still essentially have very few weaknesses. Flugel, I still need to go into this. As far as I understand, just Shez has this as a class, I believe. And there's some pretty good things here too. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this guide. If you enjoyed this or found this useful, definitely like the video and subscribe. Let me know if I missed anything or if something's wrong in the guide, because this is just kind of like an introductory guide to some of these classes. I want to do like advanced guides for like the actual advanced and master classes. And by advanced guides, I mean like I've played the game for at least like 150 hours, beaten it a few times in the hardest setting. I've tested different types of builds and different units. Like, that's like an advanced guide. These are like the basic overview. Like, here's what the class does. Here's its abilities. Here's some basic tactics to use to see some level of success. Here's like the mechanics of the class. Because I know for like some of these mechanics, like there's so much to read. I feel like most players will skip it, myself included. Like, I kind of had to go back. Like, I'd test the class for like a match or two, read through everything, and just keep testing things and checking things. I think if you overwhelm, I think this game might have the problem where it might overwhelm people with just like information. Not that it's like hard to understand, but it's just like an information dump, kind of like exposition dumps when you're like watching a movie where they just like start dumping exposition on you. It's kind of like that with just like classes and like, here's how you do this thing, and then like there's all this crafting and all this like base building. Like, this game just like overload. I feel like there's too much happening right in like as the game starts. Because there's like even just look at this. Like just look at these menus. You have all this stuff. Then you go to like abilities. You have all these abilities. And then you have like your class tree. There's a lot of information in this game, and that's not a bad thing. But I think it'll probably overwhelm some new players for sure. But yeah, that's it for this one. Thanks for checking this out, and peace.